and welcome to another exciting episode of the Dreaded Archer Podcast. I'm here tonight with my co-host Rex Hayes. How you doing, Rex?
I'm good. I'm good. How are you, Trey?
I'm good. Hey, tonight we got a special guest, very special guest, Mr. Jonathan Wilkins. How you doing, Jonathan?
What's up, y'all? How you doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. A a couple, let's say a couple months ago, Rex hit me up about you. He was like, "Hey, dude, you got to check out Black Duck Revival." And I was like, "What?" And so started listening to your podcast and immediately got hooked, man. It's the storytelling for me.
Oh man, shoot! Thanks, I appreciate that.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got to connect on it. I know we were in the. It went dark there for a little bit, and I was talking to Trey and his brother. It was Nick's wedding, and I told them the news. I was like, "Yeah, man, we got him." He said he's good to go. We can get him on. He was like, "Oh, that guy, man, we wrote that guy off, man. We were done." They were. I mean, it was at the bachelor party, so I'm sure they had some drinks. But they were like, "No, man, we don't. Nah, forget that guy." But then you came on. They're like, "Oh no, no, just kidding. We're back. We're back. We're good.
I was
We're
like, man,
not. We're not mad."
I think you ghosted us, man.
He ghosted us, man. Yeah, he wanted to
No,
be here.
no, I'm just, yeah, I'm not. I'm still kind of living an analog life to some degree.
Ah, got you.
So yeah, I kind of oftentimes don't respond to emails and stuff until I'm like way in arrears, which is
Yeah.
something I need to be way better about.
Oh, that's all good. You're living the life doing, guiding and hunting and doing everything that like we all want to be doing instead of, checking emails and being digital. So no, I mean, I get that. So I want to hear about the black bear hunt because when we first had kind of were listening to your stuff and like looking at what really caught me, I'd listened to a podcast with you and Hank Shaw, who I
Yeah,
love Hank
yeah.
Shaw. Lots of really cool recipes and just like his journey into hunting was like totally backwards to a lot of other people. And I love what he's doing and people like you and like Renella are doing in terms of like very food first kind of thing. So anyway, then all of a sudden I saw you were bear hunting on Instagram and I'm like, because I'm obsessed. Like it's my dream. I'm a poser that's can't move. That's my my stepdad's bear that he killed in Colorado, and I've always been just kind of enamored by him, and I've always wanted to hunt one. But anyway, now let's hear about your bear hunt because that's sick. Because it feels like just maybe a year ago I saw Clay Newcomb kill that one with a recurve over a water hole, and I'm obsessed. I want to kill one so bad.
Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, Clay's killed quite a few of them with a recurve.
Yeah.
But so how do I start it? So yeah, I mean, I had always been kind of interested in black bears.
You're not a bear hunter, right? Like this was new for you, right?
I mean, I killed one last year.
Okay.
But I mean, it's not like I've been doing it my whole life or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know, maybe like 10 years ago or something, I met somebody that like the only person I knew that had killed a black bear in Arkansas. They found like an oak flat where there's a bunch of bear sign, and they went back and sat in a tree and got
Bluetooth
one.
disconnected.
But so I just thought about it, and then I think about 4 years ago, I felt like I was at the point that I could go for it. And just for my own purposes, I wanted to do it like spot and stalk. I didn't want to bait a bear. And so, yeah, man, I just started putting time into it and not finding bear sign. And I think that first year it took me 13 days. I averaged about 10 miles a day, humping around the woods, and it took me 13 days to find like fresh bear sign, like a bunch of poop, basically. And then I hunted that and never saw a bear. And then that next year, I just busy doing stuff at the lodge and just with waterfowl season, so I didn't really have a ton of time for it. And then last year, I got one the first day of bear season, but it was just kind of like a happenstance thing. Like I wasn't finding sign. I'd kind of decided to give up for the day, and I was going to try to figure out a different plan because I was trying to get into some stuff that was way down in the bottom, and I just came across one and got it. And then this year, I'd started to like learn an area, so man, it was a good time, man. I saw bears every single day. I think I saw 6 bears in total, 4 days of hunting.
You were figuring it out then.
Yeah, like the first day I saw one crossing like a forestry road, and I found a bunch of sign. And then the second day, I was hunting a water hole, which I've kind of decided not to do since then. But and then like a black bear went up a tree like 100 yards away from me, and I was eating acorns, and that was super cool to see.
Like breaking limbs and getting acorns.
Yeah, just climbing around out there,
So nothing's dropped yet. Acorn.
No, they're down. They're down.
Oh, they
now.
Are. Okay.
But I've been finding like a lot of evidence of bears having been up in trees. And then that third day, I went to where I'd found a bunch of sign and found a whole bunch more and found some real fresh stuff. And then I had 2 bears come in on me about 25 yards away. And it was cool, man. They like wrestled around with each other, just kind of playing. And man, it was wild, dude. I missed 2 shots on this bear at 25 yards, and I could not figure out what was going on. And what I figured out had happened was, so I've been shooting these like G5 Montecs, right?
That's what I got. I got some G5s.
Yeah, I mean, I like them. I used to shoot muzzies, and they're just kind of like the same thing, except a little stouter, all one piece. And I'd killed a bear with it last year, and I killed 3 turkeys with it this year, and I felt good about it. And but so I was kind of like down to the wire. I should have just sharpened my broadheads, but I just went and bought a new pack and put them on. And what I figured out I had done was I had grabbed the wrong pack, and I put 85 grain broadheads on.
It was that bad at 25, huh?
Man, they were. I mean, so I was having to shoot through holes, right? I mean, stuff was real thick gunch. But yeah, like one went decidedly low, and the other one went decidedly high. And I just like clean misses, completely missed that bear twice. And so then I had to go home, handle some business, came back the next day, got in there in the afternoon and like snuck down in there. And the wind was pretty good. I got back around the same area, about 20 yards off from where I'd been. I mean, there was this real good sign there. There was like a beat down trail. There was a bunch of scat. There was trees they'd been all up in. And a bear came in, not one of those bears, but another bear came in about 620. And I shot that bear at 5 yards. And then it died about 20 yards away. And then it was starting to get dark on me. I got it gutted. And I was starting to skin it. Realized I didn't have my headlamp.
Oh, man.
And then this big black bear came in on me like 35 yards away.
Bigger than the one you had on the ground, you think?
Yeah, probably twice as big. And I was hollering, I was, hey bear, hey. And like the bear didn't leave. And I kind of puckered up a little bit because I was like, man, like I'm standing between the carcass and the gut pile.
Yeah.
Just kind of sat down and I was like, oh man.
He's hanging. He's here for it.
But he eventually kind of got up and just kind of like meandered off. But after he went like 15 yards, I couldn't see him anymore because he was in some thick stuff and it was dark. And so I had to hightail it out of there and hike back to the truck and get a pack and get a headlamp and then hike back in there and finish breaking it down and then hike part of it out and then come back and hike the other part of it out. But
was it unbothered or
from
what you could tell? Yeah.
No, that bear didn't come back in on it. And I just sang while I was breaking it down and just kept making some noise. And
What were you saying? I want to hear the
Yeah.
Keep the Bear Away song. I want to hear that. What
oh
is
hell,
that?
honestly, I don't even remember.
There
Just singing stuff, man.
you go.
Just making
Let
some
them know you're
noise.
there.
When I
Yeah.
was listening to your podcast, I was running on the treadmill, and when you're talking about, you were singing just to keep the bear away, and I was like, I wonder what was he singing? Like I was just imagining what song would scare a bear away.
I mean, yeah, I don't think I wasn't trying to frighten the bear with the lyrics. I think I was just I do know one thing I was saying. I just like a TikTok earworm kind of deal, but there's like this military cadence that I keep hearing. It's like hard work, working every day, hard work, working for my pet. Yeah, I was doing that.
That's awesome.
That was in a Gatorade commercial.
Oh, was it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm sure I sang some other stuff, but yeah, just made some noise and got out of there about 9:30 and got home, get close to 1 a.m. and yeah, just crashed.
Nice.
So are you like me when it comes to hunting? Like I'm definitely afraid of the dark. Like if I put something down and the sun's going down, I'm like, I'm questioning myself. Like, should I go ahead and just pack it out or come back and get it in the morning? Or do you just go and just do it?
Well, yeah, so I'd say I wouldn't say that I'm afraid of the dark. That's actually, I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean, as far as big game, I think that's the first thing I've killed that close to dark.
And had to pack out.
Most of the deer I've killed have been, probably before 10 o'clock in the morning. Now I've been in the woods plenty at 3 o'clock and 4 o'clock in the morning, duck hunting and driving a boat and doing all that kind of stuff or hiking into a spot. But I mean, normally I wouldn't be freaked out. The only thing that gave me a little bit of pause was that there was a bear right there.
Right.
And it wasn't even that the bear was there, it was that the bear did not leave when I started hollering at it.
He didn't care. Yeah, that is scary.
He was just trying to make claim to that gut pal. He was like, I'm gonna let him take that one off. I just want the gut pal.
I don't know. I think that it was I just think the wind was, they're so led by their olfactory senses. I think that the wind was going from the bear to me, and it was kind of low light, and
he smelled something visceral and another bear and was just like, yeah, I don't really care. The fact that he didn't care about maybe a human scent and a human voice is what you're saying worried you.
Well, I don't think that he didn't come in for that gut pile. He was just,
right.
I was just in a bare area and he was just coming through. I don't think he had smelled me yet. I don't think he knew what I was.
He was brave and big enough to investigate.
I think he's big enough that he don't care. I mean,
there's nothing that bothers him. Ooh.
So,
yeah, nope.
I'm not afraid.
But no, it worked out. Like once I had that headlamp, just so I could see what I was doing. I mean, I was fine. It was I wasn't worried about a bear sneaking up on me. I mean, you'd hear him coming in.
They're pretty gnarly, pretty ruckus. Is this zone 2?
Yeah, in Arkansas, zone 2. Yeah.
So, riddle me this: you've killed 2. You've been in Arkansas for a long time. Is this the first year that zone 2 hasn't had a quota?
No, zone 2 never has a quota.
It's never had one. Oh, okay.
Yeah, okay. Zone 1 has a quota because. So you're basically talking about the Ozarks and the Ouachitas, and the Ozarks just there's a lot of people that own private land within the Ozark National Forest. So there's just a lot of baiting up there. So they have a quote on there to keep a handle on that. And that's not the case in the Ouachitas. So like the vast, vast, vast majority of bears that are going to be killed in the Ouachitas probably most of them are going to be incidental kills, like people are deer hunting and a bear comes through and they shoot it. Like what I'm doing, there's not a ton of people doing that.
Right.
Humping around with a bow trying to kill one. I don't know how many people do it, but 25 maybe a year or something.
I want to get in on it. I want to get in on it, man. It gets me excited, dude. It's
awesome. You feel like you're hunting for sure.
Right. Yeah. Because it's something that's, it's so thick around here. There's just not a lot of opportunities to do a lot of like pigs. Like You can do that down here in some bottomlands, river bottoms. You can really sneak up on pigs, but pigs are kind of stupid in that way. And with bears, I mean, I don't know. That just seems like such a cool hunt.
I mean, don't fool yourself, dude. It's thick in the Ouachitas. I mean,
Oh yeah,
I mean, 50 yards, a 50-yard line of sight's big time.
right.
So how long has Arkansas had a bear season? Because I used to live in Texarkana, and I would spend a lot of time over in Arkansas, and I don't think I didn't know or ever heard of bears being around.
Oh no, man. I mean, I can't tell the exact date, but I think over 40 years, like 81 or something they started.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I
as
wanna-
far as far as like a bear season since like they were pretty much extirpated. And then for the first 20 years, so like basically until the 2001 or so, baiting wasn't allowed. And so they had a very small harvest, be like 25 a year or something like that. And then they needed to take, that's the thing, man, is people don't think about that, but like hunting is really a management strategy, right? For
Right.
biologists. So they just basically they figure Arkansas can handle, like the tenable population is around 5,000 or 6,000 bears. Even with hunting, bears are going to have approximately like a 10% increase in population every year. And so they're trying to take around that much out just to keep the population stable, so you don't get yourself in untenable situations with bear human interactions. So, they're trying to take 500 bears out a year, 400 to 500. So the vast majority of those are going to come out of the zone 1. And the vast majority of them are usually going to be killed pretty quick during archery season over bait. And then there'll be a smaller amount during muzzleloader and an even smaller amount during modern gun.
Yeah. That's I know that's a big thing. My grandfather, he hunts them. He's originally from like Illinois, but he moved in and retired, and he loves, every year he's always complaining about, he's glad it got moved up this year, but always complaining about how the timing of it, by the time, I got a bear baited up, and by the time season rolls around, they're already on acorns. They leave. They really do prefer that mast over donuts any day.
It's what they evolved to eat, right?
Right.
And like I've never hunted a bear over bait, but I know the guys that were baiting this year, they've had a hard time.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, once they've got acorns, like, I mean, you can still kill bears over bait, but once they've got acorns to eat, that's what they want to eat.
Right.
So do you think they learn about the bait sites, like this, what it is?
What do you mean by that?
Like if a bear comes in and sees a bait site, it's like, like last year I got shot at this very same spot or something similar to this, and just kind of steer away from it, or is it just like they just have a better palate for acorns?
Yeah, I think they just want to eat
stuff.
acorns.
Yeah.
I mean, you're dealing with eons and eons of evolution versus something that's been around for 40 or 50 years, right?
And it's stale a lot of the time. My grandpa goes around to bakeries and just gets like throwaway stuff, like it's not.
Yeah, old donuts, fryer grease, dog food.
It's just trash, really. I mean,
but I mean, you got to think about it. If you find, like an oak flat or like that's really producing acorns that the bears want to be in, especially if it's a year where, you're not always going, especially in the mountains, man. Like, you're not always going to have acorns all throughout the mountains. You might have. I was finding most of the acorns at a specific elevation. So like keying in on those areas, or like a black gum patch, or like a natural food source, like you're essentially dealing with a natural bait site. And so you have the best of both worlds, right? You have a ton of food in one concentrated area, and then it's a food that they want, and they've evolved to key in on, right? Because they're the whole point of it is that they're trying to pack on pounds. They're trying to get as like calorically dense a food option as they can before they enter that torpor state.
That hyperphagia, right? That's what they
call it. Yeah.
And just go crazy.
You were the first person I ever heard say that. It's a torpor.
Torpor.
Torpor,
So
and that means they don't hibernate.
yeah, so hibernation is their all of their bodily functions are going to like go to almost nil, right? Like and there are animals that totally do that, but bears don't necessarily, especially bears here. So what they're really doing is entering a state of torpor, which is where their heartbeat and their breathing, all that stuff will slow down substantially. But they can be roused. Like, if you go in there and you crawl into a den and start messing with them, they're going to wake up. They're going to know you're there before you get to them. They'll wake up, occasionally during the winter, and they'll get up and they'll kind of walk around. And it's been described to me by biologists as, they just seem drowsy or kind of drunk, and they won't go far. They might go get a little water or something. And then they'll
It's like
go
a
back in there.
half-ass hibernation, really.
Yeah, it's a way to slow all their bodily functions down so that, because there's not a big availability of food that time of year. I'll tell you this is something I learned this year, but hummingbirds, every single night, hummingbirds go into a state of torpor because their metabolism is so high that if they didn't go into a state of torpor at night and their metabolism stayed as high as it does during the day, like without being able to replenish those, what they're burning off, like with nectar, they would die from starvation every night. So they go into a state of torpor every single night.
That's wild how nature just like adapts to that.
That's
just
dude,
cool.
It's like high octane jet fuel
Yeah.
bird,
Yeah.
That's super nuts. I did not know that. That's wild. What so I'm torn between on this segue. I know you'd already mentioned, your choice not to hunt a bear over bait. Is that I was going to go that direction, or I was going to talk about the culinary aspect of your bear hunt, because I know me and Trey were very interested in that. Let's go with that. What's it's a moral thing. It's a hunting moral thing for you, or is it just the type of hunt it was? You wanted to be a little more active in it. Like, I'm just curious to know.
Are you talking about not doing bait?
Yeah,
Right.
not doing bait. You said you made the choice that's not, and you also said you weren't going to hunt over water anymore. Was that just a decision based on the type of hunt it is?
I mean, so so essentially we're talking about like experientially, right? So
Right. Okay.
I mean, there has been times in my life when I just kind of was on a high horse about hunting over bait, and I don't feel that way any longer. Like I understand as a biological management strategy, it absolutely needs to happen, and I understand why it's appropriate. But I'm hunting for myself, right? So
Right. Yeah.
like I want to explore. I want to walk around. I want to find different stuff. I want to exhibit woodsmanship skills. I want to find sign. I want to track stuff. All that. Now, as far as water, the reason I said that I wasn't going to key in on water as much is because I think that a lot of bears are using that. I mean, the only person I know that's killed one on public land on a water hole is Clay.
Yeah.
I think that people people like doing that because you get to a water hole and it'll hold tracks for a long time. And, a bear is a low density animal in Arkansas. So like you don't see a lot of evidence of them. And so you want to key in on that. But I think a lot of them are using them nocturnally. So I just think you're better off finding a hot sign on a food source and hunting that. And you can definitely be successful any time of the day. But after these several years and, talking to buddies of mine and all that, like definitely the hot time is going to be probably 2:00 in the afternoon to dark.
Right.
They kind of, they're least active probably from like 11 to 2 in the middle of the day.
Interesting.
So when it goes for you to start scouting bears, are you more e-scouting or boots on the ground?
Yeah, I mean, you do a little bit of get on Google Earth or whatever, and try and kind of hone in on an area. But yeah, you just gotta walk around a whole bunch. And like a lot of stuff, I think and that's like for anything, right? So that's bears or ducks or deer or whatever. You got to get in there and see what sort of trees are in there. Reading a topographic map is real helpful, and that's something I started getting better at. But even that, man, you still have to go there and see.
Right.
But like the more you do that, the easier it is to kind of have a general idea. Like one of the easiest things to do, and I think I mentioned it on that podcast, was especially if you can look at satellite images from different points in the year, figuring out where there's a ton of coniferous trees versus deciduous trees, right? So like coniferous is an evergreen, deciduous means it drops its leaves. And critters are eating mass that comes from deciduous trees, right?
Right.
So, I mean, that's why like in South Arkansas, they call them pine cone eaters or buddies of mine do for deer, right? Like you would not kill near as many deer in South Arkansas if people didn't have corn feeders because there's just not as much food in those pine thickets, right?
No, it's not. Yeah.
They're way more limited. They have natural browse in those situations as opposed to, so then if you did say you were in a situation like that, but you found 2 acres of mature white oaks, like that's a golden corral.
They're hammering it. Yeah,
right?
absolutely.
So I mean, it's a combination of both.
Yeah, I know. Was it last year, Rick? We learned the hard way. We went to Colorado for an elk hunt and never put any boots on the ground, just all e-scouting. And when we actually got there, it looked way different than what we saw on like OnX or on Google Maps, and it was just.
It's just like
it was
not
hard.
It doesn't highlight where what you're gonna see once you actually get to walking, and that's I like that about what hunt stand is that what you have, Trey? We've got that hunt stand. You can see the monthly.
Yeah.
You can see monthly for satellite images, and I use that a lot too. Like looking for ducks, like just looking for a little hidey hole to go kill some woodies or something. In this time in January, what's flooded, what's not, what looks walkable, what's not even going to be possible type stuff.
Yeah. And like scouting for ducks, there have been, I think specifically reading a topographic map on it or doing like a topographic overlay is real helpful because you'll find stuff in an area that floods and it looks like it's a great hole. You're like, man, those are oak trees. Like, there's tupelos in there and cypress and some oak trees. But what I've found is a lot of time those oak trees will be, and you're dealing with an area that's real flat, right? So just 2 feet of elevation is a big difference. A lot of times those oak trees in like a tupelo swamp will be 2 feet higher. So that might have acorns there, but it's not in the water, right? It's just like a little dry island. That's not going to help you out for ducks.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, maybe you can hunt the edge of it or something, but
right.
Yeah. I mean, there's no substitution for getting in someplace
and just looking. Yeah.
But yeah, satellite images help for sure.
Yeah, we had the hardest time finding elk, and Rex had a bear tag, but we found this one spot, and there was was it pear? It was pear trees and.
Oh yeah, that 1W or SWA, whatever they called it.
Yeah, I mean, it was all kind of like berries and fruit. And
they planted like not apricots. They planted a bunch of fruit trees right there by the parking lot. Tons of all kinds of fruit trees. It was crazy. There were guys gathering them, and then we walked that little it was an unmaintained road. It wasn't like a 4x4 trail. It was gnarly. 2-track.
No
bears. We walked up, saw so much bear signs, saw so much scat. It was insane, but lots of really dry. It may not have been anything recent. It was really hot. Like you said, they were very for the very few times I've hunted them, they're very sensitive to elevation at certain times of year and whether there is a big acorn mast or. But the only time I've ever had an opportunity at one would be elk hunting with my dad a while ago, just cow calling. I had a bear tag. He was bent on getting an elk, and sure enough, we were calling, and he was 15 yards. We were walking up this trail, kind of right beside us, and kind of keyed in on me, just doing this little chirpy little cow call. That was probably sounding like a calf, I'm sure, and he just came to investigate. But it was pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I know that people do that, like they use predator calls. And I had one around my neck, but I never ended up blowing it.
Yeah. I mean, you were seeing bears, so why not? You know, I mean, why would you need to call? You know,
Yeah, I
it seems
kind of
like
didn't
you
want to
ran them.
mess up what I was. I felt like I was in places where they already wanted to be, so I didn't want to add something else. But
Have one charging in on you, and
oh, I mean, I'm not. I mean, honestly, man, like I'm really not worried about a bear doing stuff. I mean, the only time I'd really be worried about is if I came around a corner and I popped out and like cubs were on
cubs.
one side of me and a
Yeah,
mama was on the other side.
Oh, you got some
right.
trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah, that ain't good.
What So, and I know you're. I really don't know your background in terms, but it seems like you've got a pretty extensive like cooking background. Where does that come from? Is that from? Um, is that recent? Is that something you've just got into? Is that something you've always done? Like, I want to hear
Yeah,
about your
man,
history with.
just working in restaurants.
Yeah.
I was interested in it when I was a kid. Some of my first jobs were working in restaurants. And then I played music for a long time, and like drove around in a van and did all that. So
Nice.
I always try to keep a job that I could like quit, or they'd
Or
let me
say, hey, I'm
leave.
not going to be here for a week.
Yeah,
If we
yeah.
find
So
somebody.
I
What do
mean,
you
I worked
play?
guitar and sang and all that stuff back in the day.
Nice.
But yeah, so I just worked a lot of construction jobs and a lot of labor jobs and like in kitchens. And I had like a little small kitchen operation and a dive bar in Little Rock for a while. And yeah, so I've just done that a bunch over the years. And then, yeah, so, and me and my wife, we had like a little kind of hobby farm or raising critters and processing them and all that stuff. So it's just a natural extension of it. And I
Right.
mean, that's how I met Hank,
Yeah.
however long ago that was, 11 years ago or something. And yeah, it's just kind of, it's all gone part and parcel. Like I've never taken an animal to a processor or a butcher or anything. It really never even occurred to me for a long time.
It was an option. Yeah. That it was a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when I first started hunting, I wouldn't have been able to. I couldn't give somebody $100 to process a deer. I was broke, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, and then it just grows and develops, and then like especially like the more you get comfortable breaking animals down and starting to see how to part them out and what you can do with them, it stops becoming so arduous. Like with that bear, I actually just finished getting it all put in the freezer and stuff today, but it was like deboning the hams, keep those hams, those will get cured and smoked, and I'll do them like country hams. Looking at what my family uses, right? So I've got little kids, so grind's important. So got a bunch of stuff for grind. You got the fat for rendering the fat. The shanks get saved, and I'll cut those up and make asabuco out of them, just like a braising technique. The femurs I'll keep, and I'll like roast them, take the marrow out, do like a compound butter with that.
Damn.
And so, and then like, all all your trim and your scrap and your bones and stuff, I always make a ton of stock. So, and I do that with ducks, carcasses, duck feet, all that kind of jazz. Same thing on a turkey. I mean, there's tons and tons of use you can get out of an animal. And you can either go about it, like trying to be as morally righteous as possible. You can try and be as cost effective as possible. You can be as culinarily inclined as possible, right? Like it's really kind of all those things, right? Like killing ducks is expensive. So
Yeah,
the
it is.
more you can get out of a duck. I mean, you spend all that money to go kill some mallards, and then dudes just make a couple poppers out of them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's awesome to hear, just because I know me and Trey had talked about it a lot beforehand. Like it's overwhelming at first. Like it's exciting. Don't get me wrong. It's super exciting. It's a little overwhelming when I hear, when you see guys really do all kinds of crazy stuff with wild game, and it's exciting. But at the same time, I'm like, I try to take it in, you know, no pun intended, bite-sized pieces. And like, I love the idea of doing like um, deer tongue. I told Trey, I was like, man, that's my focus is I'm gonna make sure I get that tongue out the next time I kill a deer, and like trying different little parts and pieces so that, eventually I'll get to the point where, yeah, I'm taking and using literally every piece of this animal.
And
Or
that,
like,
man, look, that a deer tongue's easy. Like, it
yeah,
seems kind of weird, but it tastes like pot roast. It's not funky.
right.
So like, I'll give you an example of a bird, because so let's say a mallard duck. All right. That's a 2.5 pound bird, right?
Yeah.
What most people do is they rip the skin open on it. They cut out 2 breasts, soak it in Italian dressing or something, throw it on the grill, cook the shit out of it. Here's what I would tell anybody to do if you have one mallard duck. All right. So first of all, pluck your birds. Unless it's like just a fish eater, like a diver,
Yeah.
because that can, they'll get some of that kind of fishy off taste in their fat. So there's some, usually like I'm going to skin something like that. But if it's a dabbling duck or a goose or something, pluck your birds. People don't want to do that because they say it takes too much time, and it's like anything else, you get better at it. I can dry pluck a bird and have that thing gutted and ready to go in 5 minutes.
Damn.
If it took you 30 minutes to do, think about it, how much money you got in shells and waiters.
Yeah,
It's worth it.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
All that shit, right? So pluck your bird. You got something that looks very recognizable. Okay. Chop the head off of it. Not a whole lot you can do with the head. So
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Throw the neck in a crock pot. I'm going to make this as easy as it can be. Throw the neck in a crock pot, right? Cut its feet off, scrub them up real good, throw that in the crock pot. All right. Then you got something that just looks like a chicken that you get from the store, right? Cut the breast out, skin on. You're just going to salt and pepper those jokers. You're going to sear them. You're going to cook them medium rare. A big problem with waterfowl is people overcook it, and it gets kind of livery and dry. Cook that thing medium rare with the skin on, salt and pepper. And let it rest. That's going to taste just like a filet mignon wrapped in bacon. Okay. Then underneath those breasts, there's going to be 2 little strips of meat. Those are going to be the tenders, like on chicken. That's why when you try and make chicken tenders at home, you cut up a breast, it doesn't look the same as when you get it from the store, because it's a different cut of meat, right? So I save all my tenders up in a bag in the freezer. When I get enough of them, I just use them for stir fry meat.
The little strip.
Just a little strip,
that falls
right?
off. Oh, that doesn't make it. It normally gets eaten.
Yeah, man. You can keep it on. You can keep it on the breast when you cook it,
right.
But it's just kind of a little extra flat. I just save them up. I kill enough birds.
That's a good idea. Yeah,
I do it for that, right? Just cook it real fast. You're good. Then you got the legs and the thighs. That's a perfect. That's like my favorite thing on a duck or a goose is a leg and the thigh. It has a lot of tendons in it, and it's tough. So you have to cook it low and slow with some moisture. So either braise it. So look, it doesn't have to be crazy, right? You can literally like sear it off in a pan, put some stock on there, let it simmer for 2 hours, right? Thicken that up with a roux or just some flour or cornstarch slurry, and serve that over rice. This is like grandma's gravy, right?
Man.
Or throw it in a crock pot, cook it low and slow, same sort of application. Then you've got that carcass, right? It's got some skin, a little bit of meat on it, the bones. Take all that stuff, throw it in a pot with water, cook it, let it reduce. You've got wonderful stock. And then I take the heart, the liver, and the gizzard out. I don't like if you ever try to eat a deer liver, like an ungulate liver, it's incredibly strong tasting, very minerally and irony. It tastes like a mushy bag of pennies.
God.
I'm not into it, right? Like,
yeah.
I've tried it lots of ways. It just doesn't do it for me. I usually use it for catfish bait. But a bird liver is very mild tasting, not off-putting at all. And I'll mince that up with the heart and the gizzard, and I'll make dirty rice out of that. And all that is Cajun fried rice, basically, just all in one pot. Or you could sear that up and make taco meat out of it, anything. So like that's one bird, right? You got 2 steaks, you've got stock, you've got the legs and the thighs. I just did a recipe for Sitka that'll come out maybe in a month or 2 or something. I don't know. But it's basically me saving all the legs and the thighs and the wings off of ducks, braising them down in a crock pot, dredging them in flour, chicken frying them, and then they're just like hot wings, right? So you can get a ton of meals off of just like one bird. Then you start thinking about, man, I got a limit of birds. I killed some ducks. You get bigger stuff like a goose. I've taken goose legs and thighs and just done a simple, soak it in salt, sugar, and water, and put it on the smoker, and it's just like a ham hock. Throw it in a pot of beans,
Nice.
Whatever. So I mean, none of that stuff. It doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be intimidating.
Right.
There's a lot of people that are involved in like cooking and teaching people to cook, and they have a professional interest in making you think that it's harder than it is, right?
Right.
So, like when I do my classes at the lodge, like I'll throw some words around, right? So, because it makes people feel insecure, so I'll say, look, we're going to talk about making roux, Mornay sauces, bechamels, right? We're going to talk about the fond in the pan, whatever. That sounds, because it's French, it sounds crazy, right?
You're a little intimidating.
Yeah. So fond is when you cook a piece of meat in a pan, all that brown stuff that's stuck on the bottom of the pan, that's the fond, right? You take any sort of liquid, you could take beer or stock or water or whatever, and pour it in there and deglaze the pan. That's just getting all that stuff up. Just like you've seen your grandma make gravy before, you just deglaze the fond off of the pan, right? You talk about making a roux, that's fat and flour cooked down, right? That's like the base of biscuits and gravy. That's the base of gumbo, right? That's what a roux is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It takes up all that liquid. Yeah.
If you add milk to that, that's a bechamel, right? That's gravy for pepper gravy for biscuits and gravy. If you add cheese to that bechamel, that's called a Mornay sauce. And that's like Southern macaroni and cheese, right? You mix noodles into that, stick it in the oven and bake it. You just made a roux, a bechamel, a Mornay sauce, right? So like that, all that stuff doesn't have to be freaky or anything, man. It can be very simple. If you kill a deer, cut the rib meat out. Cut the rib meat out and run it through a grinder. Or cut, like on this bear, man, I just take the whole rib section out. I just pop the sockets out with a knife, like a 2-inch knife. And I've got the ribs in there, same with deer. And you can take a pair of 10 snips or whatever and cut them down the middle. So you got a strip of ribs that are about that big. And stick them in a crock pot or stick them in a braising or an Instapot or whatever. And just cook them till they're not falling off the bone, but soft. And then stick them on a grill and brush them with barbecue sauce. And then you got ribs, right? And take all those bones, throw them in a big pot and cook them down and get stock. I mean, it really is not that hard. It's really people being lazy is really what it comes down to.
Right.
It's people being lazy. And there's just no call for it, right?
Absolutely.
Like legally I remember the first time I cleaned a duck, and legally you just have to pull the skin back and take the breast out.
That's it. Yeah.
And I was like, man, this seems so incredibly wasteful.
Right.
And then you can get more complicated, like say a turkey or a goose. You pluck that bird, the neck, right? You can just pull the skin off the neck, take all your trim, run it through. Everyone's got a grinder. Run it through a grinder. If you don't have a grinder, take a knife and just keep chopping it or put it in a food processor.
Yeah. Mix
it up with whatever spices. I mean, if you want to make it real easy, run in a food processor. Whatever. Put
Tony's.
Throw some Tony's or something in it. Right? And then you can take that meat and you can stuff it inside of that neck skin.
That sausage casing, pretty much, which you just made.
It's a sausage casing. Tie the ends with a piece of string and then cook it. And it seems really impressive, and it kind of is, and it presents well, and it's really tasty. But I mean, this is like what the countryest people in the world have been doing forever.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. A couple years ago, I took my dad on a deer hunt. He came up here with me, and like this was my first year really processing my own deer because I used to take it to a guy, and like, I started missing meat, so I was like, I'm gonna start doing it myself.
Yeah.
And you know, the people I learned from was like, hey, just take the back straps, take the shoulders, the hams, and then rest, throw away. And my dad, he's like, no, 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 get that rib meat, get that neck meat, and he just kind of pointing out, basically breaking it down to me like, hey, you can use all this, what I'm saying? You don't want to just go out, take animal, and just get, the main pieces. He goes, this all can be used, and it got to the point where I've started doing venison tomahawks, where I keep the rib
Oh yeah.
connected to the back
Back
strap.
strap. Yeah, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh! And it take a little work to do it, but man,
It
it
is
looks
cool.
it
Yeah.
looks great on the plate. It looks real good. It still tastes good. It's deer, but it's just I love it, and I got to the point where when I go hunting, I actually go into it with the plan. Like, if I get an animal, I'm going to do X, Y, Z with it. Like, kind of have a game
Yeah.
plan.
I mean, that's fantastic, dude. And if you wanted to, you could. So instead of cutting them up like that, leave that whole loin with those ribs sticking out of it. All right. So you got the loin like that, say, right? And these are the bones.
Right.
Instead of you're cutting down like here, right?
Yep. In
Making those
between them.
tomahawks.
Yep.
You can take the whole thing and like take a bunt pan. Like, grandma makes a bunt cake.
Yeah.
Take a bunt pan and just use that as your mold and wrap it around there and tie it on the end. And then it's called a crown roast, right? And like
I think I've seen that.
You've seen them in like fancy restaurants.
Yeah.
And dude, that presents beautifully. So if you got like, for Christmas or whatever, you got people coming over, man, you make them that. And I mean, it's kind of strange to me that people are weirded out by eating deer meat, but like, dude, you do that, you can make a very simple sauce, just like stock and butter and bourbon, or stock and butter and like a apricot jam or something, right? And put that on there. I mean, that's something someone would pay $100 a plate for in a nice restaurant. And it's barely any more work than just frying that backstrap and making taters.
Oh,
Right.
hammering the shit out of it, and then
Hammering it and
oh,
making
man.
chicken fried venison.
Was that your first experience, Trey? Was that Rush Week when we had that little party where they had somebody donated a bunch of backstrap, and that's what it was? We just sat there and hammered.
No,
egg,
my dad,
dredge.
My dad, he made it. So whenever we go to his house, he fry up some deer, or he'd put it in a pan with some gravy, and we have backstrap and gravy with some biscuits and some home potatoes.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
Dude, I'm all about it, man.
Right. It's good. I just feel like we've gotten I was always down to like explore and try weird stuff and do, as a kid, you want to do weird stuff like that. But it's just like, it seems like it got lost somewhere between generations. And this is what we do with the deer. This is how we eat it. And it never excited me, deer meat was good. Yeah. I like fried deer meat, but as far as I knew, fried backstrap and poppers were the only thing that existed. You know what I mean? And that's how you cooked it. Cause if you didn't, it tastes, like this. And I love the way it's going. And that's what I'm curious to hear. What were you most excited about with the bear? Like, what did you go into the woods in mind? Obviously you're focused on killing the bear, but like, I know you're thinking, oh man, I can't wait to make X, Y. I want to hear your top three, because I know you mentioned ossobuco from the shanks and some fat. Like, what are your plans? What's your top three favorite meals you're probably going to make from this bear? You said ham. You said smoking a ham too, right?
Yeah, which is, that's super simple, right? That's just like brining something and then smoking it, and that'll be great. And you can do that with, that works great with a deer ham too, right?
And I've always been told like you can't smoke deer because there's no fat. You can't.
It'll dry out.
It'll dry out. Like it's just
no,
like
that's
a bunch
horseshit,
of misinformation.
Man.
Yeah,
look, you got
right. Fake news.
You need to brine it. You need. You really probably need to brine it to smoke it the way you're talking about. You got to pay attention to it.
Right.
You can't get away like when you smoke a pork shoulder or a pork. A pork butt is actually that part of the shoulder, right?
It's not the butt of the pork, but
no.
I see what you're saying.
A ham is a butt, right? But
right.
Or the ass end, but
that's all right. You can say ass. Yeah, we're good.
There's so much fat and intramuscular fat on that like it's like a foolproof piece of meat, right? Like you can cook the hell out of it and it'll still be good.
Yeah.
With a lean piece of meat, you just got to pay attention a little bit more. So you can brine it or inject it, right, with salt, which is going to help it retain moisture and help it. You also don't expect it to be what it isn't, right?
Right.
But anyway, with a bear, you got some fat. I prefer bear meat to venison in most applications. So, I mean, I'll make some hams. Ossobuco is like one of the best things. Same thing on a deer. Like the first thing I eat on a deer is a shanks. I'll render some fat, and I'll probably do a little bit of cooking oil with that. But I'm probably gonna make like some salves and like I'm gonna make like hair grease out of it. To be honest with you,
nice.
Instead of Blue Magic, right? So like I'm gonna make some bear hair grease for my head and my beard and stuff. What else have I got going on there? Like a lot of ground, just because we use that and just for regular stuff, man. Spaghetti and tacos and meatloaf and hamburgers and all that. And then I did prep the bellies on them. So I'll take those bellies and I will dry brine them. Like I'll make a salt sugar cure on them, and then I'll roll them up and truss them, just like tie some string around them and smoke those very
Rolled
slowly.
Up. Do you have anything rolled in them, or
no? I'll just do them. I'll just do them like that, and you'll get. I mean, I'll basically make bear bacon, right? And so that'll be a good application for it. But yeah, I'm not doing anything crazy with any of it. It's just like a lot of ground. I'll probably do like a ham for Christmas or Thanksgiving or something, and then another one I'll make. You can do a ham like that and slice it up and just have lunch meat. But thing that'll taste the best, like my favorite thing, man, is I'm like a rice and gravy kind of guy. So ossobucos, I mean, you just kind of can't beat it. And a bear, it's great on a deer. It's great on an elk. It's way better on a bear.
So when you're packing this bear out with that in mind, like ossobuco, for instance, you're just getting the shank and getting it out. Like there's nothing you have to really do aside from getting the animal out. You're doing all this at the house. Do you freeze your shanks before to easier to cut, or how do you do the shanks?
Yeah, so it depends. So like taking it out wise, like I take, and I didn't even have game bags. I had some game bags and I couldn't find them, so I just took old pillowcases. And so I put quarters in pillowcases, put the ribs in a pillowcase. Then I just had a pillowcase that I just had for trim. So then I just like went through and cut all the stuff off. Cut the heart out. Got all the neck meat out because I was just going to grind. On a deer, usually I'll debone the whole neck and kind of roll that up and cook it as a roast. But I knew I was just going to grind it up on this bear, so just got all that off and try and keep it as clean as you can, and then take it home, work through it. I break it all down with just a knife. So just break everything down at the joint and the seams, however you want to do it. But yeah, as far as ossobuco, usually on deer I just do the whole shank, but for the bear, I just got them in the freezer, and then I'll just put a saw on them and cut some discs 3 inches thick. And do something. I mean, that's also like it's fun to there's a novelty to like cooking a bear or a mountain lion or a beaver, or just stuff that people aren't used to. So I'll do a little bit more with the presentation of that. But nice. Yeah, I mean and I'll tell you what's great for cutting up animals like that is everyone uses a sawzall, but like an oscillating saw. You know what I'm talking about? You get one from Harbor Freight for like $22, man. It's just like this little saw and it like vibrates.
Oh yeah, it goes like it's kind of like got that little.
Yeah, you can get different kind of blades for it. Yeah, but you get real small toothed blades for it, and that stuff works great for cutting stuff like that up. I mean, also just a hacksaw and a metal blade. That works real good too.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a little fancy and got one of those little like butcher tables. We got the saw on it and everything.
The
Oh yeah,
bandsaw?
yeah.
Little bandsaw, yeah.
Oh,
Haven't used
nice.
it yet, but it was on sale at not Fleet Farm, but at Running, so I had to get it.
There you go.
Yeah,
Picked
that'll
it up,
make your
yeah.
life. I mean, that'll make your life real easy, man.
Oh yeah, especially when it's negative 14 degrees in the garage and I'm out there processing meat.
Yeah, yeah. You're in South Dakota, huh?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
it's gonna be
love
kinda
it up
cold.
here. It's not too bad. Different scenery than it is down south, but it's not too bad.
Bet, man.
But hey, Jonathan, I was listening to one of your podcasts, and you was a guest on the podcast. I think it was the Wild Huntsman, and
Oh yeah.
you mentioned something about like a backpack duck hunt.
Oh
Ha-
yeah, yeah,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah.
something that have you hashed that out yet, or is it still something in the works?
Man, I'm not gonna do it this year. I got a kid coming in December. I kind of got to just be
Oh,
around at the
congrats!
house. I appreciate
Yeah,
it, man.
congrats. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm just gonna try and be around. Just stick a little closer to home. I got to travel in January and then turkey tour and stuff in the spring. But no, yeah, I've been trying to feel that out. And so, short answer is I don't have it. It's still in the planning stages. I don't have a succinct plan for it yet. But yeah, I'm gonna do that. I've kind of been thinking about possibly like Barrow, Alaska for it. Might be a cool thing.
Mm.
Their
And
limit's a little different, isn't it? In Alaska, can you kill more ducks in Alaska than like
man,
federally, right?
I'm not sure. I mean, but yeah, places have different limits. Like California is crazy. In California, you can kill like 10 speckle-bellied geese a day. I think you can
Oh
kill.
dang!
Like 3 pintail or something wild, 4 pintails.
No, I
You can't
hunted
kill.
there last year. It's 1 pintail a day,
Oh
but
wow,
it's like
they're pintail rich over there.
I can't remember, man. I want to say you can kill 7 mallards,
God,
and their
dog.
season's a lot longer, like substantially longer. Because yeah, that stuff's all based on flyways and then by state as well.
Nice.
But yeah, I'm sure that Alaska has a slightly different setup than we do here. It's kind of weird. Arkansas thinks that like we're the only people that kill ducks, but they kill
Secrets out.
more ducks in California than anywhere.
Yeah.
I have no idea. I didn't even think people really hunted in California.
Yeah, there's more hunters in California than any other state, but it's a population thing, right? So
Right.
California's got more people, and then California is it's kind of weird. So the state is 90% rural, but 90. So it's 10% urban and 90% rural, but 90% of the population lives in urban areas and only 10% lives in the rural areas. So, but yeah, man, you get up in like Northern California. I mean, it's like Idaho.
Yeah.
I mean, they even got some crazy. They got some stuff. You ever heard of the state of Jefferson?
Uh-uh.
The state of Jefferson is like this movement in Northern California and Southern Oregon where there's some folks that like want to secede from the nation and have a new state called the state of Jefferson.
I mean, it makes for interesting politics when you got a big. I lived in LA for a little bit, and yeah, I traveled north for like some pig hunts with some guys and tried to do some bear hunts. I actually that's why I like Hank so much. Like I emailed him some ridiculous tree ID question, thinking, I subscribed to his emails, thinking, well, literally 30 minutes later, email me back. Oh yeah, that's this kind of leaf. Yeah, that bears should be feeding on this about that time of year. Like he's such a nice guy. But
yeah. So yeah, he's better at responding to emails than I am.
yeah, I got spoiled by Hank. That's all, man. He was on the toilet. I happened to catch him at a good time.
No, he's just more, man. Hank's more regimented about that stuff. He was a journalist for a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's just more. I've always just kind of been a half a ne'er-do-well.
Well, I mean, I would have believed you if you told me that more ducks are killed in California than Arkansas based on me and Trey's record.
Yeah. Oh
in
man,
the natural state.
Arkansas has kicked our ass,
bro.
Yeah, it's hard, man.
You spend those few years doing that, and then you spend the rest of the years, like you said, trying to literally get to where you're breaking down every duck just to try to make it to the, not even close to break even. It's insane, but it's a lot of fun when it happens. I don't know. It's just, that's why it's so addictive.
Yeah. It's just, Arkansas is just weird because it's a place that's known for it. Right. So there's a ton of pressure and also, I mean, like real talk is like the flyway's changing.
Yeah.
That's why I've been, the last 5 years, I've spent a lot of effort and energy on speckled belly geese because 20 years ago, there weren't a bunch of speckled bellies here. And now there's a running ton of them.
Huh.
And there's fewer ducks.
Yeah. What, go ahead, Trey.
No, you can go.
No, I want your input on, the flyway change. Like, what are you seeing? Like a shift west, east of us, or staying north? I hear, you hear a lot of people talk about, oh, they're keeping their ponds open up north and they're not coming down this way. I don't know how much is true. You're in the industry.
That's what I was gonna say.
So what's your take on it?
So, I mean, it's lots of stuff, right? So, I mean, some of that is true. Like, ducks don't go south because it's cold. Ducks go south because their food gets locked up under ice. You got to think about it. Duck's wearing a down coat, right? Like a duck wants it to be 33 degrees. They want it to be as cold as possible so they're comfortable without their food freezing up. So lots of things have happened and changed. One is historically, I mean, for eons and eons, mallards specifically, dabbling ducks have always come to Arkansas for the flooded timber, right? Now, there's way less of that than there used to be because of deforestation and infrastructure and whatnot. But that's ducks getting in there, eating acorns, same as bears or whatever else, because it's a calorically dense food, and that's to help them with their migration. Now you got people planting and farming for ducks. So, and then agriculture influences that a lot. So when they started in 1903, I think, the first commercial rice crop went in Arkansas, when they started doing that, it pulled even more birds into the state. Now, what's good for a farmer isn't necessarily good for a duck. So what they have done, they're constantly making farming more and more efficient, right? Meaning there's less and less waste grain left in the field. Waste grain is good for ducks. It's not good for the farmer's bottom line. So, used to be 80 years ago or something, there'd be 500 pounds of rice per acre left in a field when they harvested rice. Now there's like 75 pounds. And a duck will eat in a field until it's down to like 50 pounds per acre, because then they're expending more energy than they're gaining from eating the food, right? So an acre that would take weeks to eat out, it's gone in a day. So you got that. Then below our flyway, like there's way less rice being grown in Louisiana. There's more rice being grown in southern Missouri than the entire state of Louisiana now. And then a lot of rice farmers in Louisiana also, after they get their rice crop out, they flood their fields deeper and they do a crawfish crop in there, right? So they're trying to make money, but you flood it so deep that it's not good for a dabbling duck or a speckled-bellied goose, because
they like it pretty shallow.
Yeah, they just need to be able to turn upside down, and they want to reach the bottom if they can with their mouth, right? So you got that going on. You also have different management strategies in different states, meaning that like you can't use robo-ducks, spinning wing decoys in Arkansas on public land, but up at the top of the flyway you can. They've done studies on that, and they figured out that the top of the flyway, you're going to have more young birds, right? Like the further down you get, the fewer young birds, because the young birds are what get killed.
They don't fall for it. Yeah.
Right. And so you give them something like a spinner on a 1-year bird. The numbers I've heard is that they figured out that on a first-year bird, a spinning wing decoy is 5 times more effective on a first-year bird. And within that population, it's 5 times more effective on hens. So you're getting a disproportionate number of young birds and female birds killed further up north. You have more food and more open water for them to take advantage of above us. You have less food here. Then you have weather changing patterns, So I hear a lot about the central flyways picking up more birds, Oklahoma, Kansas. So, I mean, there's a million different things.
Right.
And then, it's also, I think people need to remember this. You're dealing with a species or collection of species, an animal that is by its nature ephemeral, right? That means it's supposed to wax and wane. There's supposed to be an undulating flow to it. They're coming all the way from like with a snow goose from the Arctic,
Tundra.
all the way down, right? And that stuff changes and doesn't stay the same. And people want stuff to stay the same. They want predictability, but that's not how Mother Nature works. And we've had, from the early 80s until 2010, it's just unreal in Arkansas for mallards. Just absolutely unreal. And people got used to that, right? They forgot about the days, people in this lifetime that are still alive, 50 years old, when they had 30-day seasons and 2 ducks.
Yeah.
They're used to 60 days a season and 6 ducks. And
she got spoiled.
There's just, there's lots and lots and lots of reasons. But what it does do is it gives you the opportunity to pursue different species, right? So now there's a lot more, because there's less habitat in Louisiana, which is where speckle bellies have always gone. There's 250,000 speckle bellies in the state of Arkansas. Same with snow geese. So yeah, man, it's all waterfowl. Now it's different hunting, and you're doing dry fields versus timber versus flooded fields, or maybe you chase Canadas, which people down here don't really think about. But there's still lots of opportunities. You just have to try, right? And then obviously you build relationships. There's this pay to play stuff in Arkansas with waterfowl is a total pain in the butt. Like this, which you have to pay to get access to private land is ridiculous. But you make some buddies, or maybe you get invited on a hunt, or there's stuff, or what you do is you get on Onyx and you find the stuff that's hard to get to that other people aren't going to get to, and you get in there. Yeah. Right. Like everyone wants to get in a $30,000 duck boat, but you could also
burn some boot leather up, or wader.
Man, drag a canoe around. What I've even been thinking about doing is, have you ever seen these? It looks like an inner tube.
For fly fishing.
Yeah,
dude, me and my dad have talked about that so many times.
You could walk into some stuff that, and then when you could walk in, but then you still need to get 300 more yards or something.
Walking. Yeah.
And you blow that up. You pull yourself in there. And I think if you're willing to do that, you'll find places that, other folks aren't getting to. And now that doesn't mean you're going to get just a bang up hunt every time, but you got to put some effort into stuff sometimes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think we seem to want it easy as hunters. Some of us do.
Yeah.
A lot of people do.
Yeah.
You're not supposed to win most of the time. That's kind of the way I approach it. Like, the critters are supposed to win more than you win.
Yeah,
absolutely. They wouldn't be around if that was the case. It'd be called killing. Is that what they say? They'd call it killing instead of hunting.
Yeah, and look, sometimes it works out that way, but yeah,
we don't have near as many stories about killing as we do not killing, though, either. Like, I don't know, I feel like the memorable times are like when we walk away we scratched out 2 wood ducks, you know what I mean, after spending half the day. Trey's waders flooded and he stepped over
what you mean waders? I was wearing church shoes.
Oh yeah, church shoes. Yeah, that's right.
But that's all. That's part of it, right? That's learning. Like it wouldn't hold the reverence. This is like a really reverent, special thing to me. Being able to work ducks into a timber hole and watch that happen is like a really special kind of sacred thing to me.
Right.
And if it happened just with ease every time, it would be cool, but it wouldn't be as magical, right?
Right.
So there's. And then sometimes you got to lean on the other parts of it, right? So maybe what that means is that you have to actually put the time in to become a good caller. Most people ain't good at calling ducks.
Nope, they think they are though. They'd be up there just quacking away,
and they're terrible, right? And then a lot of it is like you got to learn not just how to blow a call, but when to and when not to. And there's a lot of being quiet and a lot of restraint involved in it. So there's so many different aspects of hunting that can be rewarding. And I think if you kind of immerse yourself, you find what works for you. But, if you put some effort into all of those different situations, you'll get way more out of it. And then, you get put a little bit of effort into the food. Say you just spend a little bit extra time cutting all that trim off a deer, and you get 10 more pounds of deer meat, and all you're going to do with it is make hamburger helper, right? But think about that. That's, say, a box of hamburger helper feeds 4 people, right? That's 10 extra times that 4 people eat. That's 40 extra meals off of that deer. And each one of those is a time to talk about deer hunting or tell a story to your family or your friends or whatever it is, right? Like that enriches the experience. That makes it better. That makes it something that's generational and a shared experience. I mean, that links you with people huddling in a cave, drawing with red ochre on a wall. Like it's really all the same stuff, man.
Right.
I think to me, that's the favorite part of hunting is you got the harvest. Now you're cooking and you sit around a table with all your friends and family. And, my family doesn't hunt. So to share the meat with them and then, hey man, how'd you kill this? And then you go into that story. It's just like, it's amazing.
It's a whole nother element for sure of the.
Oh yeah.
We can tell from the way you kind of described like the bear hunt too, it's about the experience. It's the experiential part of it, and everything you do, the choices you make on how you hunt them, what you do with it after the fact, and who you share that with.
Yeah, and look, man, I even did last year. Y'all know who this? Have you ever heard of this guy, Jesse Griffiths?
Yeah. Oh,
I don't.
And that's on my list here to talk to you about one of his catfish recipes. But continue.
Oh yeah, Jesse, man, Jesse's cool, man.
He is a cool cat. Well, from what I've seen, but
man, he's just like such a sweet dude. But like he came and fished with me, and like we kind of swapped hunts, and so me and my wife went down there and deer hunted. And I it's Texas, man. They kill all their deer damn near over feeders, right?
Yeah.
So, when in Rome. And but I kind of purposely wanted to do that. I wanted to see how it felt to me, and I didn't feel bad. I didn't feel like I did something dirty, But I had a fantastic time. But it felt a little more like grocery shopping to me, And it's still exponentially more honest than going to Walmart and buying a tube of ground beef, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
But And look, most people don't have the time to hunt that I get to invest in it. A lot of people get a weekend or two a year, and they're doing that, and they're taking their kids out. I mean, I'm 100% behind it. But it's a different experience, right? And I think people know that. That's why so many people they have these bucket list hunts. Like they want to go to the west, and they want to go up on a mountain, and they want to kill an elk, right? They might kill 100 white-tailed deer in Alabama in their lifetime. Right, but they're looking for that adventure. They're looking for that proving ground. They're looking to test themselves, all that. And it doesn't have to be that every time, but it can be sometimes.
Oh yeah, and in your own state as well. Yeah, it doesn't have to be
for sure.
Off. That's what I think we were kind of realizing is like, after we know kind of realizing what you're chasing when you go out for these elk. Yeah, it's like it's going and camping out for a week and a half and stumbling around trying to figure it out. You know what I mean? That's just a lot. I don't know. That's the experience part of it is so much fun.
Yeah, you can do that in Arkansas, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's tons of national forests. You can go out there, find an open spot, pitch you a tent, and you can slip hunt around and really have a real adventure, and learn stuff that you can. Then you start building that knowledge base for year to year to year. Like I killed that bear in a place that I marked on Onyx in 2019.
Oh, wow.
I just hadn't gotten back in.
Yeah. That's sick.
So.
Yeah. Well, Jesse Griffiths, so there's I'm going to turn it 360, 180. There's a smoked catfish. Let me back up. I'll back up. I love catfishing. I love tight lining for catfish. It's something my dad and I did when I was younger that I was super addicted to. Like it's not, we didn't catch that many, but man, just hooking into one and pulling up, a 15-pound, 20-pound catfish was so awesome.
That's a big catfish, yeah.
It is a bit, yeah. And like to feel that. And for the first time, it was about a month ago. Tight line and caught, targeted some flathead because you hear they like live bait, you hear all that
Mhm.
stuff. Went out, not a loose plan, caught some bait fish, ended up dumping my bait fish over the boat by accident, and had one drum about like this big that we cut up and used, and actually caught two flathead on cut bait of
Oh,
drum.
sweet.
It was crazy, but got super excited and had this Jesse Griffiths recipe for this smoked catfish. And obviously, I don't know why, but in my mind, I was like, you can't smoke freshwater fish. Like I'm thinking cold smoked salmon. I'm thinking not to temp, but it was like, no, you cook that thing up to whatever, set it up to 250 if you got an electric smoker, 300 after you brine it. And I did it with this flathead, and my God, I made this dip. It's like some kind of dill cream cheese dip that he
Sure.
had in his oh man,
Yeah, good
so
stuff,
good.
man.
Oh, dude. And I'm like, I'm gonna use smoked catfish forever. It's like lox. It's literally just like salmon. Like what? Why am I not doing this? What am I? Oh, I've been missing out
Man, you've been holding
on
out,
that.
man.
I have been holding out, dude. Oh, it's so anyway.
Yeah,
It's
no,
just
it's real good, man. Man, catfish get like kind of a weird bad rap, but yeah, man, smoking them is a super good way. Like, so say you brine some and you can smoke them on the bone, you can fillet them, however you want to do it, right? Like I like making croquettes out of
Oh
them,
yes.
right? Like just
Oh yeah.
patties. That's really great. And you can do that with like trout, smoked trout, or like smoked catfish. Mostly what I catch is catfish.
yeah.
You can make, like you said, you can make like a smoked fish dip. You can like just sub that in for like, tuna fish salad, and make like
Oh,
a
yeah.
smoked fish sandwich. All that stuff is really good. You can also, you can scrub a catfish down, like clean it real good with salt and get all that mucosa off, that slime. And then you can steak it up, right? So instead of cutting
Skin
fillets,
on.
yeah, leave the skin
Oh
on,
yeah.
right? And then like you ever have unagi at like a Japanese restaurant, like
Yeah.
No, I
barbecue
remember.
eel?
I remember seeing something on MasterChef, somebody doing that with catfish and like cooking it with skin on it. And I've always
Yeah,
been
you can
trying to
totally do it,
find
man.
it.
You
It's
can eat, I
crazy.
mean,
Yeah.
just like take it, cook it on the grill, brush it with like a sweet kind of tangy
Sugary kind of,
sauce.
yeah, to
Yeah,
kind of
like
get it
teriyaki or something like that.
right, to get it kind
Uh,
of sticky and
yeah, and
caramely and
yeah,
oh
man, it's good, dude. You can do, or Hank's got a cool recipe for like Vietnamese clay pot catfish, which Southeast Asia, they deal with catfish a lot over there. It's different species, but it's still catfish.
And like
right.
basa.
What's up?
Isn't it like like the species called like basa?
Ooh, I'm not really sure what
Yeah.
it's called over there, but yeah, I mean that's I don't know. Have y'all ever been down to New Orleans?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's like there was a lot of Vietnamese refugees that settled down in that area after the Vietnam War, and that's why it worked, because it was a very similar climate and landscape, and
Yeah.
the idea of shrimping and catfishing and all that. I mean, I was at a Cafe Du Monde, right?
Oh yeah. The
Everybody
beignets.
I saw working there was Vietnamese, and
That's
it's
so awesome.
but yeah, man, it's like the same sort of deal. You can,
But a totally different cuisine. Yeah, that's the kind of things I'm interested. Like I think they like squirrel too. They have squirrel over there. I think they're big. Or
yeah, I
maybe
think that's more of a Hmong thing.
among that's it. That's what it is.
So
Yes,
those
there it
Hmongs
is.
are kind of
Squirrels.
like mountain people,
Ah,
and
got
they've
it.
got like a really strong hunting culture. And there's a lot of Hmong people in, I think, Minnesota, and then in California. And Hank
Right.
actually told me this, that they were so effective squirrel hunting in California that they had to lower the limits.
Oh
They're the
wow.
first ones to push it. Yeah, they're like,
Yeah,
oh yeah,
they
we're
were getting
crushing
after it,
these.
man.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. um, what kind of bike? So you do a lot of. I love the setup you've got. You're talking like with Black Duck Revival. You've got in the fall you've got your waterfowl, and then aside from, I mean, obviously you do catfishing in the winter and the fall as well, but on the side you also do these like kind of like running lines, trot lines and yo-yos and things like that. What kind of what Oh,
no,
I thought you were waving me like telling me to.
Oh no, there's a fly in there.
I was like, oh, sore subject. No, what kind of bycatch do you get, and do you care about? Like, what? I mean, would you catch something and be like, oh, because we remember us catching some leatherbacks and some strange things that you don't think about in the water, but
So mostly, I don't get a lot of bycatch because I fish. A lot of times, if I'm doing that stuff, I fish with this stuff called soap, and the only thing you're going to catch on that is catfish.
I got you.
But I mean, as far as bycatch, every once in a while you'll catch some turtles, and
you don't fool with turtles.
No, yeah, I do, man.
You will. You'll cook turtle. Okay.
Yeah, you just clean them and
just not something that gets you excited, I guess, is what I'm getting at. Like
as far as
like,
a bycatch,
yeah.
I mean, I'd be stoked so you can't keep alligator snappers, but if you had like just a regular snapping turtle, I'd be stoked about that.
How do you know the difference? What's the difference between an alligator and a regular snapping turtle?
Regular snapping turtle is like a smooth dome shell, and an alligator snapping turtle is spiky.
It's got that little hump on
I got you. Okay. It'd be obvious then. For some reason, I thought they looked. I got you. Okay.
No, you can tell, man. But yeah, I mean, mostly what I'm catching is going to be catfish. I'd say probably 50% blue, 50% channels. Now I will do. They call them black salties. They're just a bait fish you can buy, and you can catch flatheads on that. Heck, I caught a flathead on a hot dog one time. But yeah, I mean, I don't actually deal with just a ton of bycatch at all. I mean,
so you don't catch a lot of. Go ahead.
Well, no, I do that, man, and then just like simple pole fishing, so crappie, bluegill. You know, I'm kind of simple when it comes to fishing.
Nice.
Are there any fish that you deem as trash fish?
I mean, I eat gar. When I catch gar, I eat those. Buffalo, I like eating buffaloes.
Yeah.
I mean, really, the only thing I'm going to usually throw back is, like those yellow cats you catch sometimes.
Yeah.
They're just, I mean, meat quality. They're real mushy, and I might catch one of those every 50 fish, and I'll throw it back. But yeah, man, not usually, man. I'm not too much of a snob.
He's not picky at all. Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's weird because like coming from down south and moving here, back home anything we caught we kept and ate it. You know what I'm saying? But here it's like in South Dakota, it's either walleye, northerns, or sunfish. And that's it.
Perch or whatever.
Perch. Yeah. Yep, and that's it. It's if anything else is trash fish. So like the carp, catfish, like people will talk bad to you if you try to serve them catfish, like bad. So you got
yeah, man. That's a cultural thing.
They got a bad rap up here. It is not good. But I've been trying, like a lot of my close friends here, I've been slowly converting them over, like let's kind of slip in some catfish and like try this. It's pretty good. What is it? Catfish? Oh man, that's nasty. You just said it was good, bro.
Well, I mean, think about it, dude. I mean, South Dakota is not known for its cuisine, right?
Oh, and it is like not.
South Dakota, Nebraska, they've got runzas. They got you get
runza is bad.
I mean, I've had it. I got a good friend who's from Nebraska. I was driving through there. I was like, "What should I get?" He's like, "Man, you got to go get a runza," and I got one. And now I guarantee you that if I made a runza, I could make one that was good. I bought one out of just a fast food restaurant that I wasn't in love with. But yeah, man, I'm not tripping off of that. Like people will tell you, and like that's what I kind of do for a living, man, is I cook stuff that people say you can't cook, right? So
yes, sir.
Snow geese and raccoons and offcuts of different animals, and lots of people tell you can't eat a bear or a beaver or any of that stuff. And most of the time, like mindful processing, which means like processing it quickly, keeping your knives clean. You don't like cut the tarsal glands off and then cut the back straps out with the same knife without cleaning it. Getting that stuff cooled down quickly, and then understanding that there's different methods of preparation. Like you can cook a back strap medium rare, and it'd be very delicious. If you cook it well done, it's going to be tough. Same thing with a duck breast, right? But you can't cook a duck leg medium rare, you're gonna have to cook that low and slow and allow that fibrotic tissue to break down, which is going to start happening after 180 degrees for a sustained amount of time. There's just like a little bit of knowledge, but really to me, man, look, most people nowadays, you're dealing with people, they don't cut their own grass. Their water heater goes out. They got to pay someone to replace a water heater. Like they can't change their own oil. And these are all things that just a regular person is capable of doing. Like I've said this a million times, but I'm 39, right? And my parents were older when I was born. So like my grandparents were born in the teens, right? You're dealing with a generation of people that came back from World War II with what we would consider substandard education, most of them, right? Like maybe didn't graduate high school or whatever. Bought a house kit out of a Sears catalog. They didn't go and get a construction degree. They bought a kit that came in boxes, and they built houses that are still standing today, right? Like,
wait, for real?
Oh, that's like a real thing, man. Google that. Google like Sears houses.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they came back, got the GI Bill, man. They got a loan. They bought a house that just came in pieces
on a truck,
$3,500, and them and their buddies drank Schlitz beer and built a house. And they're all over the place, man. They're all over the place. They're still standing. You think about the great cathedrals of Europe.
Yeah.
These were built by illiterate people with no education. The great stone craftsmen, the pyramids, the great cooking cultures of the world. Everyone thinks of France and stuff. A lot of that stuff is Escoffier. That was a dude who wrote a book in the 1800s. You think of the idea of like a confit, right? That's French peasant food. Like all the best stuff is just regular people doing stuff. None of it has to be unapproachable. None of it has to be scary.
Novel, yeah.
Not to mention, we're talking on this crazy machine, three different locales, right? And I can go boop bop beep bop bop and learn how to do anything.
Yeah.
So it's, none of it's an insurmountable task, right? Like this is all doable stuff. I know your time and money and interest might dictate different levels, but it's all absolutely doable.
Right.
Oh, definitely. I think when it comes to cooking, I think most people get stuck in that the culinary style which they were brought up in, and they are afraid to venture out.
Yeah, and look, I think most people think that cooking is buying stuff in boxes and putting it together. Like,
yeah,
that's
sad.
Yeah. That ain't it, right? No, I'm not saying I don't deal with convenience foods at all. Like I'm always referencing Hamburger Helper, but putting together a stew is a very simple thing.
Yep.
Very, very simple thing, right? And maybe that means that you play. I know people don't listen to music like this anymore, but like you used to play an album, right? So you put some music on that you like, and get a pot going, and cut up some meat. Just take a little time and brown it, right? Sear it off first, and then start building it up. And
what's that? Whatever's at the bottom of the fridge, kind of toss in for
yeah.
bed.
It doesn't need to be anything crazy, right?
Right.
You can live in an apartment and you can have a 5-gallon bucket and grow some tomatoes. You can.
Yeah.
Like I got a couple. I live in the middle of the city. I got a couple of laying hens, right? Got a little garden outside.
Oh,
none of it's crazy, and this is all very doable. Now we over romanticize it, right? We talk about farm to table, and we talk about like we have to take cooking classes and all that stuff. And hell, I'm in some of that business, right? But this is all stuff that our grandparents did, and just regular people have done for forever and ever. Like, hell, like when you think of baking a cake, 9.9 out of 10 people are going to think we're going to get a box of Duncan Hines. That's only been around since like the 50s. Like before that, if you wanted a cake, you got flour and baking powder and salt and sugar and eggs and milk. You know, same thing with
Mix
ice
it
cream.
together.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, none of that stuff is really that hard to do.
Not unattainable. Yeah.
No, man. I mean, and you don't just even stuff like just buying fresh vegetables as opposed to going to Trader Joe's and buying everything in a package, like all your vegetables in a package, all your meat in a package. Just a little bit extra. And it's like, look, it's cheaper. Goes further, right? It's probably going to be healthier for you. It's more fulfilling. Like you feel better about it. You know, like just you bought chicken, you fried up chicken, you made mashed potatoes from regular potatoes, and
what?
Yeah, man.
You did what?
Some canned green beans or something.
You're acting. You're saying crazy stuff right now.
That's a phenomenal meal, right? and that can be like a really special thing. I mean, you know, and think about like the best meals you've ever had, like the most meaningful meals you've ever had. They're with, you know, someone that you loved probably made that for you.
Yep.
Right? It was a way to communicate that you were valued by them, that they cared about you, that they were willing to put their time and effort and energy into something. And then that influences, like, then you have all these olfactory memories. You smell stuff and it reminds you of Meemaw or your mom, or, you know, whatever, drinking hot chocolate. Like I always associate drinking hot chocolate with like going sledding with my dad when I was a kid. Right. So, yeah, again, man, that's kind of like the thing that I preach. Like none of this needs to be scary. It's all doable. I'm not saying everyone has to live their life the way that I do, but man, just go a little bit further. If all you do on a deer, if all you do is cut out the back straps and grind up the shoulders and the hams, like cut out the rib meat next time and take the neck roast.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like do that.
Yeah.
Maybe you don't want to eat the heart. Maybe you don't want to take the caul fat out and start doing crepiniers and all that other stuff, man. Just take the neck meat out and take the rib meat out and grind it up.
Step at a time.
Yeah, man. And it'll get better. Shit, man. You start cooking legs and thighs off a waterfowl, you'll feel like an a-hole for throwing that stuff away just because it's so good.
Yeah.
No, I gotta try it. Definitely gotta get that on the list for sure.
I got some kids that I teach I'm a coach at a high school and I do kindergarten PE and stuff, but got some real good kids on my soccer team that really eat up with waterfowl stuff. And I remember him telling me, "Hey man, we killed like a 4-man limit of woodies. Do you want them?" And I'd always hounded him, man, like, "Hey, next time y'all get some ducks, man, hook me up," you know, because I do like I Hank Shaw's Duck Duck Goose and like really branching out into that kind of stuff, you know, the last couple of years. But he thought I was crazy. He was like, "Yeah, man, come grab them all," and I plucked every single one of them. Had like a little mason jar filled with like a halfway filled with fat that I used for literally everything. He's got one where he does the fresh rosemary with like these brine hearts. Then you make a chimichurri and you do it on the grill. Oh my God. And you feel like an asshole next time I joined a camp recently and they thought that I was crazy when they saw me going back behind them to get all their mergansers, the hearts out of the mergansers and the hearts out of the, you know, the ruddy ducks and the bluebills. And they're just like, "What are you doing, man?" I'm like, "I'm just getting all the hearts. Don't worry. Don't mind me. I'm just picking up out of the gut pile and picking through stuff." And goose, getting the goose legs off. I got a crazy looks for that, and it's just, Do y'all do a lot of blasting casts with your clients? Y'all run trot lines after you get done killing ducks, or?
Man, not usually, because then you're contending with duck hunters, right? Like you start getting in the waters.
I got you.
But yeah, no. So like normally we'll do duck or speckled-belly goose hunt. So we'll do like 2 days of that. We go back to the lodge and, you know, I show folks how to like dry pluck, how to wax pluck. I've got a mechanical plucker, right? Do those different methods. We'll break birds down. I'll do cooking demos. We'll eat really well. Everyone goes home with their birds like plucked whole birds that they can take home and do different stuff with, and just have a couple of pretty full days. I mean, it's like a lot of work. And then we get out there and we get outside and we clean those birds and break them all down. And man, it's dude, I'm telling you, just doing those hunts and then doing all the processing and the cooking schools and stuff, that takes up 2 full days. But yeah, man, I've kind of got it dialed in how I like it. I cap the hunts at 5 people.
Nice.
So it's like a small number of folks. Everyone stays in the old church.
Okay, that's all.
Yeah.
It's looking at all the remodeling and stuff you've been doing on that. How's that going? It's where you want it now, huh? It's
Pretty
settled.
much, man. I mean, there's always something you could do, but it's fine. Yeah, man, it's kind of like a summer camp vibe. It's a good self-selecting group of people. You don't have to deal with a lot of the false machismo and braggadocio that comes with a lot of waterfowling.
You're not there to hold up greenhead limits and take 30 minutes worth of pictures with all your ducks.
Yeah, man. I don't do pile picks and all that stuff.
Oh.
I mean, I want to get limits for sure, but
yeah.
But
that's for the sole purpose of eating and really getting in there. Yeah.
I mean, people are coming for an experience, right?
Right.
So not just a hunt. So yeah, that we're doing that. I'm just doing a handful of them this year because, like I said, I got a bunch going on. But
maybe on the way, yeah.
Yeah, and then I got. I'm gonna go. I do that on the road a little bit too. So I got to go to California and do some classes in January. And
nice.
So that's going pretty good, man. And then usually the catfishing is like more of a spring and early summer thing, but these turkeys are taking up more and more of my time. So like I pushed back the catfishing a couple months this year.
Chase some gobblers, huh?
Yeah, them gobblers start getting addicting, man. I think I'm hooked at this point.
Yeah, they're amazing, man. I got to hunt in California, Oregon, Michigan last year. And had some good success, and I'll be hunting down with Jesse in Texas this year, and
sick.
Back to California and Oregon, and Hank and me talked about chasing Osceolas in Florida, maybe. So
get your turkey slam, dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I don't really care. I'm not super motivated by that. But,
right. Yeah.
But man, just getting to see them in different places, and I love the communication factor with birds, right? Like talking to them and figuring out how to make them think that you're one of them. So like doing that with turkeys is great. Obviously it's like one of the best parts about goose hunting and waterfowling and stuff.
Speak the language.
Old Will Primos.
Yeah, brought to you by Primos.
Man.
Well, right on, dude. Yeah.
So before we wrap all this up, I guess give us like a brief, give the listeners like a brief, description of what Black Duck Revival is and how it kind of got started.
Oh man, so it started. I bought an old church in Brinkley there in the Delta, and just like remodeled it and pretty much like gutted it. It was a shithole, dude. So
shithole church, man.
Yeah, I ripped it all out and built it back and just turned it into a place that I'd want to hang out. And then I ended up buying the spot next to it too and doing the same sort of deal. And yeah, then I started doing these kind of experiential hunt schools. So like pretty much what I described, I have small groups of people during waterfowl season. They'll come and we'll hunt for a couple of days and do bird processing and cooking and talk about the history and the biology of the critters and the place and what makes it special there. And so we do those. I do a guide for some catfish trips, limb lining and trout lining in the bayous and the backwaters during the spring and the early summertime. And then, other stuff, we'll do like a one-off cooking class here and there. It's really a place for learning and, people coming together. And, it's been that building's been a church. It's been like a corner store. It's been a church a couple different times. It's always kind of been a place for people to come together, like a sense of community, share their lives, cook, all that. So yeah, that's like what the place Black Duck Revival is. And then it's grown into kind of like a title that people associate with me with, and a brand. And so, then I'm also like I travel around and give demonstrations and lectures, or write for different magazines, different publications, and done a little bit of video stuff. Everything's a film now, but
Right.
I did a meat eater thing, and
Oh, nice.
I'm an ambassador for Sitka, so I write for Sitka and do some cool hunts with them, and write for their website and their catalog and all that. So yeah, that's kind of what Black Duck Revival is.
Right on.
Right on, right on. Well, Jonathan, hey, we definitely appreciate you taking time out of your day and time away from your family to come hang out with us and chat with us about, the outdoors and your bear hunt. And before we get out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
Oh yeah, man, on Instagram, it's pretty easy. Just Black Duck Revival. Website's blackduckrevival.com. The podcast is the Black Duck Revival podcast, and that's all wherever you listen to podcasts. And then website's a good place to see stuff I've written, but Bear Hunting Magazine, Outdoor Life, Sitka. There's a book that Rue Matt from Outdoor Afros got coming out, I think, next month. I wrote some stuff for that. It pops up different places. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Right on.
All righty, right on.
Yeah,
Like I
awesome to
said-
meet you, Jonathan. Yeah.
Yeah, likewise,
Sweet.
guys. I enjoyed the conversation.
Oh yeah, it was
Right
great.
on.
It's always good to sit down and just talk about the good outdoors and cooking. For me, definitely cooking, because that's my heart.
Jonathan, if you need a Chesapeake Bay Retriever for hire, he's ready.
Oh man, you got a Chessie?
He'll fetch anything: beavers, squirrels, ducks, whatever. Choose.
Those jokers are tanks, man.
Yeah, he is a tank. He's
I had
too
a
big
guy-
for him, but really.
Like a long time ago, the guy that was training my dog, he said, back in the day, everyone used golden retrievers, right?
Yeah.
And then labs got popular, and then Chessies were real kind of in vogue.
Yeah.
I don't know, 2010 to 2015 or something. And the dude said, man, like a golden retriever is like a sedan. A lab is like a 4-wheel drive. He said Chesapeake's like a tank.
It is.
Those jokers are.
He's too much dog, man. I don't do
dude,
him justice.
they are strong, man.
He's capable of so much more, and that's why I'm so sad I haven't provided him with enough. That's why he's resorted to getting beavers that I shoot. He's like, I guess I'm gonna go fetch this. This is all you got? All right. But
Yeah, hey man. I promise you, he's happier going out there and doing that than sitting
just
around
getting in the
chewing on
water.
his shoes. Yeah.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt.
Yeah, I got 4 labs right now. So
dang, man.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's got a farm over there.
two are leaving on the 7th. They're being gone, but I technically still have 2: a black lab and a chocolate lab. But the other 2 they got homes.
Yeah, it sounds like y'all need to hunt more birds, man.
Yeah,
Oh
absolutely.
yeah.
All right, Jonathan. Well, have a good night. Thanks for
Yeah.
jumping on. We'll be in touch.
All right, y'all
Yes,
take it
sir.
easy.
Thank you.
Yep, bye now.
Peace.